Welcome. This is a tailboard training tip about BLEVE. A BLEVE is a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. It does not have to be a flammable product in order to BLEVE. The BLEVE is coming from the internal pressure of a tank. Therefore, anything with a liquid inside of it that is heated enough to create a pressure in the vapor space can build up enough pressure, and typically they'll have a relief valve that will exhaust that pressure, and the flames will weaken the steel to the point where at some point the internal pressure exceeds the ability of the container to hold that pressure any longer, and you get an ultimate explosion. That explosion can send shrapnel through the air. It will send a pressure wave. It can destroy structures and property, and if it is a flammable product, can have an ensuing fire and ignite other objects on fire as well. So you've got burn injuries, blast injuries, shrapnel problems, all kinds of dangers that can occur from a BLEVE. Now we're going to do a few examples. Here's a fire in which we've got some fireworks going off. Men are about to attack the fire. They're assessing it. We've got a garage on fire. In a lot of garages are aerosol cans, paint cans, and propane cylinders. This one had a propane cylinder that exploded. As you can see, it was a significant concussion wave, shrapnel flying, debris flying around, burning debris, and it could have definitely killed a firefighter if they were in the close proximity or just happened to get hit by shrapnel or flying debris. This is a a rail car. Rail cars are large. They're pressurized, and when they blow, they cause a tremendous explosion. Flammable products, again, can ignite and catch a lot of other things on fire. So this is the rail car itself. It's not a little piece. That's the rail car flying through the air. So you can have significant hazards, and we need to assess that risk and be sure that we can actually make something better before we commit personnel to try to manage a problem. If there's very little risk to anyone, there's no reason to send our men in. If we're in the middle of the desert and nothing's really at stake except property, maybe better just to let it burn out, because oftentimes it will burn out. Other times it will explode. Unmanned hose lines are another option as well. We're going to burn some metal. We're going to talk about the strength of that metal. This is acetylene, where it's about 2,500 degrees in air. When we add oxygen, it kicks up to about 3,500 degrees. 32 to 3,500 degrees when it's burning well. So we know that steel weakens, actually melts around 22 to 2,500 degrees, so we should have enough heat to melt the steel. We put a flame to it. It sometimes turns orange, it discolors, it heats up, just like if you have fire impingement on a tank, you don't want to heat up. If we heat it up enough, and this is just acetylene, so we're looking at around 2,500 degrees, but it's enough to soften that metal. We add oxygen to it, and we really throw the heat to it. We can cut it or burn it all the way through. We do that, that metal is really hot, right? We know it was just beyond its melting point. And oh wait, it's not even hot right here. Isn't that crazy? I can touch this with my bare hand. It's about 70 degrees around here. And if you think that thing's already cooled, let's check and see. Oh no, it's hot. It's well above 212, right? So if I spray right here, what am I doing? Nothing. Nothing at all. It's room temperature. But there's a point at which I have superheated metal. It's cool here, super hot here, just turning the water to steam. So there's not enough water right there to absorb all the heat necessary. I keep flowing a little while though. I will absorb enough heat to where the metal's cool all the way through. Once it's not steaming anymore, we know we've cooled it to less than 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's some good indicators for us. Propane burns around 2,000 degrees. And so a propane tank fire is really close to a little less than the acetylene prior to turning the oxygen on. So we know it's hot enough to soften the steel enough for a tank to explode. We're going to simulate various types of containers here that have a liquid or a liquefied product inside. And we're going to have an accident. These things, they're going to catch on fire. Oh no. So, what do you think is going to happen if I put fire to this vessel? Most people say it's going to start melting. It's going to decrease the integrity, right, of the steel, because we know steel can only take so much heat, right? What about the liquid or liquefied product inside? That's right. It's going to try to boil. It's going to boil to a vapor. That vapor is going to build up pressure inside a closed container. These aren't closed, but you can see some steam starting to come out the top. If on a propane tank or any ASME vessel, they're going to have a relief valve that will relieve the pressure, so you'll have vapor pushing out the top of that. If we bring the liquid to a boil, pressure builds up. At some point, we could have a catastrophic event. So my question is, at what point is this metal going to burn? We're putting a lot of heat to it, right? So what's going on?
It's starting to boil.
You see that water sloshing out the top?
Yes.
So we're at a boil, okay. Man, let's get. But I don't see the tank rupturing or anything. What's the deal? All right, let's say I have a leak, maybe a little higher up here. Oh, snap.
So once it's above the water, then it hits the metal, that's where it's hot in, right?
Right. Okay, so see that water? You can still see it. It's in there boiling. The water or propane or whatever liquid product, propylene, it could be a beer keg with beer in it. If the flame's impinging over here by the liquid, that liquid's absorbing that heat, is converting to steam or vapor, and that vapor's coming out the relief valve. It may catch on fire. It may be blowing some good heat out. But we're pretty happy as long as the flame's down here, right? All right. So the question is, can we protect that integrity of that container with a water stream from a fire engine if the flames are impinging above that liquid line where we obviously can't, it can't hold that heat very long, right? That's the question. Can we protect it? So that's what we're going to do next. Oh no, we've had another fire. We're going to have to call engine 17 to the scene. They're en route, code 3. Go boys, go. We got a live one. All right, so we've got flame impingement, and then they need to start applying water, a steady stream of water to the tank. Come on, friend. Let's get some water on there. Come on, friend.
More?
At the point of flame impingement. All right, you're a pretty good firefighter. You're doing what you're told. You're told to put water on the tank, right? All right, you're doing a good job. Let's say you're coming in from that side, but the flame happens to be over here. Does that matter?
Yes.
Why does it matter?
It's gonna get it hot on that side.
Well, why aren't you protecting the tank? I got a hole in the tank, it just exploded. You see what happened?
Yes.
Can you see, video man?
Once you got up higher.
So, the moral of the story is you need to flow water at the point of flame impingement above the liquid line to protect the steel, just like in the steel cutting scenario. I don't have to flow 500 gallons per minute of water if my flame's only this big hitting the side of a propane tank. But I better put the water where the flame is touching the metal. You can put water here all day long, and it's not doing anything.
No.
It's not protecting this part. That's where it's going to fail. They talk about failure at seams, at welds, on the ends. All that stuff is just wives' tales, misnomers. It's not true. The tank will always fail where it's weakest, and it's weakest where the flames have softened the steel, almost melting the steel. That's where it's going to fail every time. Let's do it again.
Okay.
All right. You come in from that way, and you see fire, and instead of just spraying the tank from the angle that you approach, you come around to the backside where the flame is, and you put water where that flame is, okay? Engine 17 responding to some kind of vessel fire. It may be a heater treater or something, and we got flame impingement over here above the liquid line. Get your nose all the way around over here. There you go. Now, keep a steady stream of water on there, running down that tank. Now, how long is my question? If we got this flame right on here, how long can you protect that steel?
As long as I got water?
As long as you have water. So you better have a water supply to finish the job before you get started. You don't want to be here and then run out of water. You run out of water, you're like, oh, hey, boys, what's wrong with the engine? I don't know. Maybe we should back out of here. Yeah, let's back out. And as you're turning to walk away, the integrity goes away and you got a rupture of the tank. Must be a full tank, right? A full tank here. Yeah, it's got a high liquid level. Yeah, the water is all the way up to the top.
Oh, it makes sense now.
Okay, we talked about the integrity of metal and how it weakens. Now, we also looked at cans as an example or a demonstration. Of course, aluminum cans soften and weaken a lot faster than a propane tank. So don't think just because a flame touches the metal, it's going to automatically explode. There's a lot longer time that you have. However, that time that you have could vary depending on that liquid level and the flame impingement, how close it is and how good a flame it's making, all that kind of thing. So I believe in Iowa at the chicken farm when that tank exploded, it was approximately 15 minutes, and I'm going by memory, but 15 minutes is a decent time frame to be very suspicious that the integrity of the metal is extremely weak. If you get there much sooner than that, I feel like you have a lot higher chance of safely assessing it, meaning you can pull one line, get some water on it, and see where the liquid level is based on discoloration and or water runoff. But if it's been longer than 15 minutes, it's a very risky operation. And that's part of our risk assessment. We've got to kind of know what we're dealing with. First of all, we've got to look at the big picture and say, is there flame impingement on the tank? It may just be the relief valve going off. If so, the flames and heat are going up and away, and it's not really affecting the integrity of the metal, so we're okay. A flame next to the tank is a lot different than a flame touching the metal of the tank. Okay, are there people in the area to evacuate? That's the first priority. If you can evacuate people and protect lives and your firefighters' lives, that's you're doing a great job. Now, if we suspect that the tank has lost integrity, in other words, the the paints burn off and we see the heat stressing of that metal, we may decide not to get too close because the likelihood of an explosion is pretty high. When that relief valve is going off, it's under a lot of pressure. If the relief valve goes off and then it turns back on, meaning relieves, and then it stops and shuts off, it is effectively relieving. If it's continuously blowing and it's blowing at a high pitch or a higher pitch, that pressure is increasing and it's not doing its job. Therefore, if internal pressure is building up, it's a high risk. We don't want to go in. So to prevent the BLEVE, obviously, we've got to get water on the point of flame impingement above the liquid line, anywhere the flames are touching that steel and can weaken it. But we need to make sure that we have enough water supply to flow for a significant period of time, the hoses and right lengths and nozzles, the training to do so effectively. If we don't have all that, it's a no-go. Evacuate and protect people and lives, and that's all you can do. Some tips are: make sure you put water on that point of flame impingement. Make sure you have enough water. There's numbers from NFPA and various other places, but the size of the flame is going to really indicate how much water you need. There needs to be enough water for the water to run down the sides of the tank anywhere around the flames and not be converting to steam. If it's still converting to steam, you're not applying enough water, and it needs to be steady. Once you do apply water to steel and you cool it down, it does regain a lot of its integrity. That's the best thing you can do. If there are any valves that you can access and shut to close the flow off, you may do so after you've sufficiently cooled the tank.